Hello everybody, welcome back to the Woodworking Wisdom Workshops here at Axminster Tools in Devon. Today we are looking at a little project, a little gift for your four-legged furry friend at home, and we're going to use the pocket hole jig to make, or partly to make, a little pooch or pussy feeding station. All right. Now you can see from the underside of this, we've got a number of different angled holes holding all of the components together. Okay, and we've got some circular cutouts to take the stainless steel bowls itself. We're going to do that, and fingers crossed, time allowing, we're also going to do a bit of freehand routing to put my doggy's name on there. Now this is a project that kind of came from my good lady at home with new kitchen, so that's my job the weekend, and she wanted to tidy up the dog's feeding area. So my little pooch Dexter, which I'm hoping we've got a little image for you, my lovely furry friend, there he is, look, he's a nightmare, stubborn, strong-willed, but I love him a bit. Such a loving dog, but does what he wants when he wants, if he wants. So anyway, that's my pooch. So this little thing is for him to tidy up his feeding station. Okay, we're gonna use a piece of oak. And you think, oak for a dog's feeding station? I know, that's just the way I roll, nice and posh, that's me. So we've got a piece of oak there. This is in and around just a little over 800 mil long. And if we can come over to the overhead cam, Ben, there we go. I'm hoping you can just about see some marks that I've made there. There we go. We've got a mark there at 400 mil from this end, of 200 mil in middle line. I've crossed there to give me center points, and then from that center point I've drawn a circle. I've got to draw one more circle yet to cut out and drop in the bowl itself. But the first job I think I'm going to do, I'm going to go over to my miter saw and just cleanly, squarely take this off at the 400 mil. We'll get to the pocket hole bit and we'll look at that in detail in a moment or two. So, all right. So let's head over to my miter saw and do some cutting. Okay. So here we are. We're over at my BOSCH miter saw. I'm going to put my specs on. There we are. And I can see my mark there is marked off at 400 mil. All right. And my blade is going to be kind of waist side because I need this a neat 400 mil. Now the blade that I've got fitted is a bit posh. It's one of the Axminster Cut Pro blades, which is exceptionally sharp. I've never known a blade like it for finish. I'll do a cut and I'll show you. Now that's the bit that I want. This is exceptional. What I'm going to do, I'm going to take this over to the bench again. So let's head on back over. All right. Now that's the component we need. You can see that I've kind of got it marked out there. But what a sweet clean cut. Ben, if we can go overhead camera a moment. All right. Now that is exceptional. You'd normally expect breakout on the underside, breakout on the backside. I don't need to do it. It's almost a plain finish. Super special blade, the Cut Pros. A blade to save for best, really. It really is a beaut. So I am there. That's what I've got. I need to mark out my other circle, which I'm going to do next. Now, as said, I've made my center mark. I know the distance that I need to give me my center. I've measured the bowl, diameter on the underside. I've cut that. Oh, I will cut this with a jigsaw. All right. So there we go. So I've got to take out these two circles. 1, 2. Let's hold that up a little bit so you can get a clearer picture. There you go. You can see those two circles equally spaced through my 400 mil oak board. The board, incidentally, is just under 20 mil. So kind of 19.5. I kind of work with quite a lot of 18 to 21, 22 mil stuff. Just a nice, easy size to work with. It's going to be easily good enough for this particular project. Now, let's just go back to the project a second. Take the bowls out. Ben, if we can go to camera number 1. Thank you, mate. Right, so that's the top that I'm going to do now. I've taken it down to a nice square 400 mil. I've marked off 2 circles, which I'm going to cut out now. Now, there's a number of different ways I could have cut this out. I could have led in with a bandsaw and then glued up my lead-in line and cut round. A little bit messy, bit of a faff. Could have drilled a hole and gone scroll saw. Yep, that's a nice, clean way to do it. Maybe not the fastest, but I'm a big fan of the jigsaw. I like using jigsaws, all right? A lot of the thinking on jigsaws goes over to the bandsaw as well. Wide blade, straight cut, thin blade, curvy cuts. It's all that sort of thinking. Deep timber, coarse blade. Shallow timber, finer blade, better finish, and all that sort of stuff. The blade that I've got fitted, let me just drop that battery off there, and I'll pop the blade out for you. All right. There we go, overhead bent. Right. That's quite a narrow blade. It's quite narrow. I want to be mine narrow. It's quite thin here across that section. It's really going to turn curves really well. So that's the one I've got fitted into the BOSCH. Click that back in. You've got to love BOSCH for the quick fit stuff. Battery goes on, and that's ready to go. But first, I need to grip my material and drill a couple of lead-in holes to make it easy for me to get the blade in. So I'm going to clamp my material. All right. Now, you've seen this bench before. I use it a lot. These track clamps are hold down clamps. Are just so quick and easy to use. There we go. Lock that off. I want to make sure I'm not going to cut through the bench underneath. Just to be sure, I'm just going to go forward a smidge. There we go. All right. Firstly, I'm just going to drill a couple of holes. Now, the holes I'm going to drill are around 7.5 mil. It doesn't matter as long as the blade goes through. And I'm just going to drill a hole, but without coming outside my pencil line. I'm going to go one there. And I'm going to go one there. All right, now I'm not outside my pencil line. Now I've got somewhere for my jigsaw to sit in and start my cut, which is exactly what I'm going to do next. All right, so there we go. Blade goes in, and make sure your blade isn't touching the material when you start the jigsaw, because it will bounce. It will jump off, you'll bend the blade, you'll damage your material and possibly yourself. On the pendulum action, when I'm cutting curves, generally I have the pendulum at 0. Gives me a cleaner cut and gives me a bit more control. All right, so let's fire that up and start our cut very carefully, following our line. Nice and steady, go rough. I'm a big fan of jigsaws. A lot of people struggle with them, I know, but I think really that's good for the blade selection. Not embarrassing, really, I guess. I'll come around to my cut there. Now, the reason I put a hole in there is so I can now come at it from the other way. Because as I swing round, there's a potential I'm going to come into contact with the clamp. All right, so let's just carefully, he says, there we go. And then we'll swing around the other way. Make sure my blade's not in contact. And there we go. Okay, you could have done this on a scroll saw. You could have also, if you did that on the right side, you use a really big hole saw and a full powerful grip. And I do like these bobby grip jigsaws. You can see my hand is clamping and gripping the jigsaw really quite close to the action area. Gives me a lot of control rather than what we call a D-grip jigsaw with a big handle on the top of it. So then I come round and meet my other cut, and he's through. There we go. We've got one circle cut, as you can see. Now, it's probably not the cleanest perfect circle at this stage. And to be fair, does it matter? Because that's going to drop in and hide all the kind of rougher edge. Now, you could, without a doubt, just clean this up. And then, you know, me being a little bit fussy, I am going to clean this up a little bit. All right. So let's just do exactly the same the other side. Okay, let's just unlock those, flip that around, make sure we're clamped in the correct position, nice and securely. I do like working with this style of bench these days. The tracks and the dog holes and all that sort of stuff. Which makes life a lot easier. Careful. 7.5mm hole, both sides. Make sure I'm in the right spot. There we are. Okay. Away we go again. Blade in. Slow and steady, just rolling up around the pencil line. I'm not going to push too hard. Start forcing it. That's when the blade starts to go off and you don't get a square cut. Following that line really nicely, coming around the drill hole. There we go. All right. And then we'll come around the other way. You could tidy this little hole up if you wanted to. With a rasp if it's really bad. Everything's handy if you've got one, that's great. Or by hand, and a little bit of abrasive paper. Rolling on round. So I meet my other line. Drop through, jigsaw to one side. Look at that, what we've got. Oh, where are we going? There we go. Say that, no, that's fine. There we go. So 400mm by 190mm piece of 20mm thick oak. 1, 2, dropped in. Now you can clearly see that that is the top of our feeding station. We've got a little bit of detailing to do yet, and we've got to round over this edge, hit the router table in a minute or two, but you know, you can see it starting to take shape already within no time. And we've got a question. Yes, Colwyn?
Would you be able to just run over what you were doing there with the jigsaw?
Yeah.
Because it was quite difficult to hear over the jigsaw itself.
Oh,
so
okay.
About coming in from two sides.
Oh, yes, yes, yes. I thought the microphone would hopefully drown out the jigsaw, but it didn't. Okay, so what we did, just 2 holes, and then our blade goes through and roll around one way. Let me get a little piece. There we go. You can see there. We rolled around one way. Okay. One way, and then come the other way. The only reason I didn't go all the way around is because there was a potential the body of the jigsaw as it was coming around might just hit my clamp. So one way, the other way. Didn't have to swing all the way around. And this left a really almost perfect, but really neat hole there to drop in the trays. Now the blade I was using, you probably just about heard me there, was a narrow blade, kind of like a very narrow 1/4-inch bandsaw blade that you use to do scrolly cuts on your bandsaw. Okay, not too coarse, so it didn't shred the material too much. Okay, but there we are. We have the top part of our feeding station. A little bit of routing on the top there in a moment or two, and as said, we're gonna go over to the router table shortly. Okay, so let's pop that to one side. Pop pop that to one side as well. Now, the next bit we've got to do, then we can go to camera 1. Beautiful. We've got this other bit, the other end of our longer board that we chopped in half to start with. I want to take this down the length, down the middle, a rip cut. And for that, of course, I'm going to use my bandsaw. Now, a measure, I'm just going to double check. We are at 190. We're at 190. So I'm going to set my fence on my bandsaw. Half of that 190, so a 95. Halfway. And I am going to turn some extraction on. And just do a little cut to start with. This is the way I just double check that I'm in the middle. I'll go tiny little cut, turn it over, tiny little cut. Are they in the same place? Now you can tell there now. Hopefully, there we go. You can see that marker. I know I'm dead center to that board. So when I continue my rip cut, I know I'm in the middle. Okay, so there we go. Slow, steady feed through my bandsaw. I don't need a push stick because my hand is a good distance away from the blade. And I'll slow down as I come out of the cut. Hop. And then I'll turn my machine off and just retrieve my 2 components. And there we have 2 pieces ripped down exactly the same size. Okay. Now what will form the front panel that we're going to do a bit of freehand routing and get Dexter's name in there later. This piece is going to form the sides. Okay. You can see on this one I've got an angle cut through the front there. So we need to figure that out. And I'll go over to the miter saw to do that cut. I happen to know that it's about a 15 degree, but this kind of angle is completely optional. All right. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to have a little measure and see where we need to be. Get rid of the waste that I don't need anymore. Turn that extractor off. Right, so what do we do? Let's cut. We'll cut that at 175. All right. So I'm going to mark off. Hopefully you can see that. Yeah, that's good enough. 175 on the front face. On the long face, that's on the short edge. The long edge, 197. 197. Now what I can do now is just join those 2 points up, and it gives me the angle that I need on that front face there. That's that component. You can see an angle. That's the angle. So I'm going to go over to the miter saw now and cut this piece. So let's head on over to the miter saw again. All right, and there we have it. We're at the miter saw. So I just need to, now, as I said, I happen to know what angle that is, but you can gauge what angle that is, but just dropping the blade down and eyeing it to see whether you're in line. As said, I know we're on a 15, so I'm going to mark off at a 15. Make sure I've got the right side of the waist. So this is a component that I need. My blade is to the right-hand side. So my line is probably just visible. And a beautifully clean cut. Now I've got 2 components cut with the same angle on them. Okay, hopefully you can see that on the screen there. Where am I? Am I in the right spot? There we go. So if we go over there a little bit, it'll come up. All right, you can see I've got 2 components cut with the same angle, but one is longer than the other. Well, this again can be trimmed off of the miter saw. Put the miter saw back to 0. Make sure we're flushed off in this area. Bring my blade over to the shorter length, making sure we stay flush on the edge, and then giving us then 2 exactly cut, 15 degree front, square back, sides. Okay, so let's head back over to the bench. So we've got something now that is kind of starting to look like already our feeding station, isn't it? All right, something like that. And there we are. It's kind of looking right already. So what I'm going to do, this is the point that I'm just going to identify which is the top and the bottom, the inside and the out, which is looking cleanest on our components. You might want a defect that you want to hide on the inside, or a beautiful piece of grain that you really want to see. So I reckon, because I've got these pencil marks on the inside, that's going to be the inside. So front and back doesn't really matter. So that's going to be back. I always mark up on the inside of my material. So what I can do now is that goes there. All right, that goes there. That goes there like this. And I'm going to make sure that my components just have a little step out. I'm not going flush on the edge because I want to round over all these corners. So I want this to just sit in a little bit. All right. So I'm going to just put a measure on that to make sure that we're kind of level. Yeah. So 6mm satin. 6mm satin. And we'll do the same the other end. 6mm in. 6mm in, he says. There we go. Yeah. What I need now is a dimension between these 2 points. Then I can cut my front rail to sit between these angles, because you can see this front rail goes between these 2 pieces that we've just on. Just set back a little bit. We've got a question. Yes, Colwyn?
We've got a really good question, actually. This is from Martin. I've just purchased the UJK track to insert into my bench. Can you tell me the measurement from the front of your bench to the edge of the track, please? And is a 19mm router bit okay to size to fit?
Yeah, I think it is 19. Let me just double check for you, sir. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, it is 19 perfectly. 19, and you want to go, and I can just tell you, yeah, to sit under the surface, you want to go 19mm wide router bit, 10mm into the material. And I've got this front leading edge here, 70mm from the front face of my bench. All right. Really good system to set up, especially if you've got a few kind of dog holes as well. So what I was going to do, I'm happy with these components, where they're going to live. I just want a dimension between these 2 points for my front board. Now, carefully, I'm going to just hold that still, drop that in there, and that's a 346. So I'm going to measure off my material, which will be probably one of my most visible bits with the my dog's name on there. So 346, there it is. And back over to the miter saw for the final time, just to take that off at 346. So follow me over. Here we go. All right. Remember which side is your waist side. And 346. Nice clean cut. There we go. Back over to the bench. So where we're at now, we've already got something that's going to look like this feeding station. Okay. What I'd like to do is talk pocket holes now, because our components are cut. We are ready to look at the pocket hole jig and start thinking about jointing stuff up. So, which is going to be my front face and back face? Ooh, doesn't really matter. There's a blemish there. Well, it's not a blemish. I call that a bit of a character, a nice bit of detail. So that is going to be my back face. These bits are pretty equal. It doesn't really matter what they look like. B for back, B for back. There we go. So that is all there now. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to put that to one side. We've got to take some components to the router table in a minute, and we're going to look at pocket hole jigs. The jig itself is this thing. All right. basically 2 holes which are guides for a special stepped drill bit. Now we'll look at this in detail in a minute or two. It's the way that comes through. You've got the ability with a stop collar to control the depth so you don't blast through the material. It comes in a specific angle, specific depth, built-in clamp to give, you know, a really good, strong fixing. It's really quick as well, the pocket hole. You know, maybe the traditionalists out there, not a fan of this sort of joinery. You know, it is more than 10 hand-cut dovetails, we know that. But what it is super quick, super strong, and it's quick results for people. I think it's great for people that are just kind of getting into woodworking. The ability to make something, maybe something like this, you know, cutting material, routing edges, and then the ability to drop in pocket holes to do all the joinery just makes it so quick, so easy. It's a, you know, a project like this is a few hours. I'm going to do this, like I said, within an hour. So we need to crack on. I just want to take you over to the router table because I'm just going to show you a little bit of detail on the pocket hole. All right, that's the jig itself. You can see where the drill bit comes through and comes down into the material. The material is clamped in this area here. You've got a clamp which clamps the material against this face, and the drill bit comes through, like I said, at a controlled depth into your timber. Now let's have a look at an actual pair of pocket holes cut. There we go. So that's what they are. You can see the kind of teardrop sort of shape where that drill bit comes in at an angle. Cross section, you can see where that's come through at that set angle. We've got a controlled depth stop just there, and the screw actually picks up on the face or side of the material. You know, it's never good to screw and fix into end grain. So edge grain and side grain are great. All right, and that's what it is. It's basically pocket hole. Arguably, you probably don't need to glue, but I do like to glue this sort of stuff as well. So that's what I'll be doing. And, you know, you might think that, well, some of these, they're a little bit ugly, you know, lots of holes everywhere. You know, you do try and do it so it's hidden underneath, inside, back of a drawer, back inside of a box. But if you want to hide it or even make a feature of it, you can do this sort of thing. All right. So if we can go back over to the router table again, Ben. All right. Now we can see a pair of pockets there, but we can also see one has had an infill. It's been plugged. All right. What you can buy is a matching plug cutter to match the drill bit that's used on the pocket hole jig. All right. That's a matching size. So the hole that this drill bit creates can be plugged with something like this, which is created by this. Quite simply, this is then inserted, glued in, and then flush cut off. And you can try and hide it with matching timber or make a feature of it with contrasting timber. Okay. Right, so let's get pocket holding. So let's get my jig into place. Stuff that we don't need out of the way. Jig's in position. I'm going to try and locate the jig so you can see what you need to see. Yes, go on.
Just a quick one here from Maria. Will you be angling the front face edges?
I will angle one front face edge, but not on both. You'll see that as I go. I'll angle the bottom one, but not. I don't need to angle the top one. So it's all hidden away. Let's move that one over there. There, just trying to get you an angle there. You should be able to see what's what there. Bit of tidy up. There we go. Okay. So I'm just going to mark up where I'm going to need my pockets. All right, so I know that I've got a couple coming in there. I know that I've got a couple coming in there. All right, and also on this face, I need one coming in there to fix this to the top, and in and around the same position on the other side. There we are. Oh, I've marked that the wrong way, haven't I? There we go. Okay. On the front rail, to hold the front rail to the top, there's just going to be a couple of little pockets in the middle, fixing into there. This will fix into there. Okay. So that's me marked up. That's good. I need to just move my material. Actually, I'm just going to change my mind slightly. I'm going to pocket there and pocket there. So I'm going to centralize my my timber to my main drill block. All right, now there's little marking lines here. There's a center line. And for this project, I'm just going to eyeball it because they're completely invisible. That locks in. I've got the ability to just tweak the clamp so that locks in really, really well. All right. The drill bit gets put into the drill, but not before we've double checked the depth that our drill bit comes down. We don't want it coming down too far into our material and bursting through the other side. So that I just put under there. Then I can set the depth collar. All right, there, the little ruler under there ensures that the tip of my drill bit doesn't go all the way through and destroy the other piece of material. So make sure I'm drilling the right place. That goes back into position. Now you can see an extraction outlet on here. I'm going to use that. It makes a big difference. Keeps things really nice and clean. So let's just get my extraction pipe. Pop it into position. There we go. And you'll see next to no waste. There we go. So that's the first two. Okay. We're going to flip it end to end, centralize to our block, lock in position. There we go. Extraction back on. Okay. So we've got the two ends now, which are going to fix to the two angled fronts. Nice and easy. I need to put two into this area here. Now I'm going to measure a center for that. There we go. So there's your center. I can line that up with the center mark that I've got on my jig. Lock it in position. And the same material thickness, so no changes to setup. No extraction. Makes a big difference. You get a little bit of clogging in there sometimes. So that is all we need to do to that front rail. That's almost all of the pocket holing we need to do, apart from just 2 that are going to hold the side rails to the top. So this is how the front rail is held to the top here, the ones we've just done. This is held to there. All right, so we need to make sure we get those in the right orientation and get them in the right place. All right, so yeah, that was definitely there. Just double checking. That was there. So we're going to go 1, 1, 2, 2. Okay. Now, just into that area. Now we can do it that way on. Locked in. I'm picking up this marker here. I'm just going to ease that over. I'm only putting 1 in, so I'm not using 2 this time. So I'm just working on this one coming in there. We've got a question?
We've got a couple of questions. I'll do the easy one first. What's the fob you're using to control the dust extraction?
We've got a FESTOOL. It's a Bluetooth little thing that kind of lives on the hose, actually. You can see that hose size. But we've got the FESTOOL M-class auto switching extractor. It's kind of top of the range. It's got the bells and whistles, super fine filtration, audible noise if the bag's full, and stuff like that. But this one, like I say, it's got the little clicker on and off. Really quite handy, because although it's auto switching and you plug your power tool into the extractor normally, cordless tools, for the best part I'm using here today, you've got no auto switching because there's no lead going from your power tool to your extractor. So you need a really quick and easy method to turn that on without going to your extractor to do it if you're working on the other side of the room. Okay.
Another one. This is from Maria in Wales. It's a birthday tomorrow. Already have 2 Axminster vouchers to spend on something. Might be a pocket hole jig. What size timber, max and min, will it take?
Our minimum, I think we're looking at about 12 mil. The maximum, I think, is about 40. So it's a really good range of timbers. And really easy to use, just quick joinery. So yeah, you can buy it in a couple of different ways. You can buy just the jig. You can buy it in some kits with screws and clamps and extraction and bags and all that sort of stuff. So have a good look. I know we got them in stock as well, which is nice. So yeah, have a look, treat yourself. Right. So did I do that cut or did I not do that cut? No, I did not do that cut. So let's do that one. Now that's going to hold the side rail to the underside of my topper. All right, that one's coming in there like this, and then make sure I get the right way around on the other one. And use the same thing, locked off, some extraction again. Okay. So that is all of the pocket holing done. So quick and easy to use this little device, which, to be honest, has been around for a long time. Craig was a popular one back in the day. They're still around, but a little bit plasticky, in my opinion. This one is an all-metal construction. So, and there we have, that's the best view. We can see there your 2 side rails. Okay, coming in. We've got the fixing screw that's going to hold it to the topper there. Then we've got our front rail, which is going to come in there. And we've got these pockets are going to hold it to the side rail. And the 2 central pockets are going to hold it to the top. So that's all of our actual pocket holing done. Really quick and easy. I wanted to just lose the edges on my router table, round over, make things nice and clean and smooth. I'm only going to route over the front edge of this. I'm going to leave this flat and square because it's got to go flat against there. So that's got to be routed. That's got to be routed. Front rail isn't routed at all. And I'm going to go all the way around the top side of my, my top. And then we'll screw and glue it all together. Okay. So router table it is. Now I'm not going to go through setup on router tables at this point. The cutter that I'm using, if we can just come over, Ben, thank you, my friend. You can just about see him sticking through there. There it is. It's a little rounding over cutter. So something like that. You see, it's just going to round over and ease all of the edges to our workpiece. Some we need to do, some we don't. But it's going to be nice and easy. Now we've got both end grain and side grain, to contend with here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do all the end grain first, because the end grain will probably break out in this area. But afterwards, we've got to come down the side grain, which will clean up the corners. So always inside. All right. So it's just going to slide through like this. I'm going to slide my guard into position, just in case I get a few splinters. I've closed down the aperture in the middle of the router table as much as possible, and I've set everything up so the height of the cutter is just right. I'll turn some extraction on, turn my router on. All right, flip it over. I'm going to do both edges on here. Let's do the other end as well. End grain first. All right, and then we'll do some side grain cuts just to clean up those corners. Flip it over, other side. Okay, nice. Same thing. And we can already see all those edges are looking cleaner, much more aesthetically pleasing. And certainly no sharp edges for your dog to catch himself on. All right, now what I've got to do on these are the front faces. So the end grain is getting a little bit short, so nice and careful. What I don't like to do is lead in with the points first. I like to go the other way first and be a little bit more forgiving. Okay. So there you go. That's that one looking a little bit cleaner, a little bit smoother. And do the other one. Do that again. Good. Okay. Lovely. So what we've got there now are all the visible, the front edges, all really smooth. All right. So this is starting to look like something that's almost a finished piece. I think each component now deserves a sand before I screw it all together. So let's crack out the sander, random orbital sander. All right. In fact, you know, I'm going to go the other way around. I think I'm going to get the routing, the nameplate work going on first. All right. I think I'm going to do that. All right. So I've got to make sure that I get it the right way up. Dexter's a bit difficult to read upside down. All right. So I just want to make sure that my pockets are going in the right way. So I'll put a little arrow that way up. Okay. I will just clear my workspace a little. Give me room. Slide that. That can come in there. And there it is. Okay. So Dexter is my pooch's name. So you can see on the other one that I did, literally pooch. All right. Couple of paw prints. I don't know whether that looks more like a rabbit than a dog, but I don't know. There it is. And this one is actually going home to Ben. He's already snaffled that one for his little dog. All right, but what I'm going to work with is this today. Okay, Dexter, my little pooch. I'm kind of going to centralize by eye. What I've got is a bit of carbon paper just to transfer this. I mean, I know some people will kind of tape or glue this to the timber and then route in, but I do find the paper fluffs up, catches on the base of the router, and you lose some accuracy and fluency over the material. So what I like to do is just put a bit of carbon paper there. All right. Kind of centralize it. You can put markers and measure if you want. I'm going to do that by eye. I see, making sure everything looks straight and parallel, and just transfer this over. Oops. Transfer this over using the carbon paper. Nice clean lines to follow. And then we'll get the router going. The router is a small 1/4-inch BOSCH with a 60-degree V cutter. Now that is without a doubt the best cutter, the 60-degree V, the best cutter to use for doing any hand engraving work. Gives you a lot of control. Because doing it with straight cutters, flat bottom cutters is really, really tricky. The cutter wants to drift off to one side or the other, depending on whether you're pulling or pushing. For those of you that have done any freehand routing, I'm sure you've experienced this if you're using straight cutters. But this one, the V, which I'll show you in a mo. And there we've got something nice, clean and easy to follow. Let's just pop that. So that's the router cutter I'm using. You can see 60-degree V cutter in there, nice sharp point. Not a big bulky router, something that's easy to handle. A couple of clamps just tipping over the edge of this. Don't want to put the clamps all the way in, which will potentially clash with the base of the router and cause you to make a mistake. That's easily enough to hold that board in place for me to route that out. What I'm going to do, I'm going to set my cutter depth. So I plunge down till my cutter just makes contact with my material. Don't stab it in too hard. Then I'm going to, in this area, just there's going to be a little gap created just between that stopper and its bottom location point. And I want to go about probably 2 mil, 2.5 mil into my material. I can use a drill bit to set the depth. I'll show you there. There we go. And I've just sandwiched, can you see that? Just about. You can see I've sandwiched a drill bit just in between the bottom of the stop. So when I pull that out, there's a 2.5 millimeter, quite precise gap there. So when I plunge down again, I go down to that 2.5 depth. Nice, easy, quick way, precise way to, oh, I've just gone too far over with me. Right, so what we'll do, let's move my clamp a little bit. All right, Dexter's a little bit bigger, so we're going to do it in 2 visits. That'll be enough to hold that. Get some extraction on there. Make sure that you got nice, free and easy movement with your router. All right. What I also like to do is to give myself a really good viewpoint. Is to sit down when I do it. All right, much more comfortable, particularly if you're at the router for a long time. Just makes sense. And I plunge down. And that's the beauty of using a plunging router. Release. Slide on round the cut. At no point is this cutter or the router fighting against me. Going exactly where I want it to go. Sliding over the material so easily. I'll stop now so you can just have a quick look at what we've got so far. There we go. Oh, probably in the way. Okay, so you can see that we've got nice even depth, nice even spacing, and with decks so far. So let's do the rest. Power on, plunge down, control. That's the beauty of a plunge router over a fixed base. You've got the ability and control to plunge in and out of letters in detail that you want to select. Last letter, and then I'm going to change the depth slightly. I don't want the paw prints to be quite as deep as the lettering. And there we have it. Hopefully you can see that. All right, nice and clean, all even. I only want I don't know, what do we want? How about 2 mil? Well, in fact, 1.5 millimeters into my materials. Quite particular. So we're going to put the drill bit in under the depth stop again. I mean, you can, of course, use the scale on this, but I find this a more precise method than my eyesight in what it used to be. So I can't quite see it well enough sometimes. Now, given that I'm working on that end of the board, I'm going to clamp from this end of the board now and release this clamp. I couldn't quite get my full swing on me on my material. All right, so position, get comfortable. And the last thing you want to do really is spend all the time, planing your material down to size, routing all the edges nice and tidy, pocket holing, and then you kind of make a mistake when you're in this stage, the final finishing stage. So it's worth taking your time. All right, so send it in, and we'll start the paw print. Looking round to my other line. Okay. And start with a pad. And more of it all. You get quite quick at this really. Once you get practice and you're comfortable, using a right cutter, it starts to become quite easy. I just got a really big long inscription on a piece of oak going into my summer house. 20 letters, all nice and clean and parallel. I'm doing it in exactly this way. So if you're doing nameplates and house signs and stuff like that, I know CNC machinery and everything is a popular way to go. It doesn't have to be done like that. Okay. Dexter. All right, we've got a little bit of sanding to do now. And then we'll be ready to screw it all together and call it a job done. How quick can some of these projects be? And look, top tip. If you're one of those individuals that are looking to make a bit of money from the projects you produce, the ability to do something like this with personalizing with names and stuff like that for pets or kids, you can charge a few quid for stuff, maybe charge a bit more money for stuff. If you do want to make some extra money to help fund your tool addiction. You know, I know we've all got that sort of thing going on. So let's take these two pots, get them ready. I'm going to give everything a little sand up, and then we'll be ready to joint. Yes, Colwyn, we have a question.
Yeah, from Maria again. The base of my router has got a little scuffed up and doesn't glide very smoothly anymore. Can I sand it down, or is there a better way to re-smooth it? Oh,
I just sand it. Go 120, 240. 240 should be easily enough. Make sure that all the edges of the router base, let me just make sure that's turned off before I go diving in too much. Make sure all the edges of your router base, all these corners are smooth as well. And that can be just like a piece of abrasive. Everything wants to glide smoothly. But if this is scuffed up, yeah, just give it a sand. I mean, some of them are transparent in the hope that you can see through them and see what you're doing, but that doesn't happen very often. But yeah, give it a sand up. Absolutely perfect for that. So I've got my Makita random orbital sander with a 120 grit mesh abrasive on there. That is going to be enough for this. Just losing any pencil marks, any marks left over from the carbon paper maybe. Not going to sand the inside for the moment, just with really time that we've got. Okay, so that's all the flat pieces sanded. What I want to do now is just make a change and add in a little flexible pad. Now, I've used this before. You might have seen it. It's a little sponge backing pad. Now, this will form and fold around my routed edges to help blend in any curves or any bits that I need. So they're really useful. You can get them for all sorts of sanders. If you've watched the video that I did a couple of weeks ago on the cutting boards, chopping boards, I used them then just to round over the edges of the cutting boards. Now I'm got on to 240 on my paper, and I'm going to work over the edge of my bench just to blend it all in, really. So it really won't take long before it's looking super smooth. Now, ordinarily, I might take a little bit more time over the sanding, but we've got the clock is against us a little bit. Blending all these edges in. Just to make it as smooth as possible, really. Okay, that's it. I'll probably give a little bit more time to that sanding afterwards, but for now, that's enough, I think. Let's get to screwing it all together and seeing what we've got. Now, we know that's the back and that's the underside. All right, so we're going to leave that for there for one moment. We've got to just lay this out and make sure we've got components in exactly the positions that we need them. All right, that's got to come over like that. All right, so I'm going to go 1, 1. That's going to come over like that. I'm going to go 2, 2, just so we make sure the components come together in the right orientation, really. I don't need that for a moment. Now, what we need to do is screw that into that. All right, we can see that. Now, I'm going to make sure that my top face, now this is the top, all right, is the right way up, of course, Craig. But I want it to sit back just slightly off my front board here. I don't want it flush because I've rounded it over, so I want it to sit back. So let me show you how I'm going to do that. And when you're screwing your pocket hole bits together, You need to clamp stuff together while you're screwing it, or you need to, let's get that in the right orientation. All right, you need something positive to screw against. Now, this little squaring frame is really good. What I'm going to do to help me bring that back from that rounded face, I'm just going to pop a little packer underneath. There we go. Tiny little 8mm ply will bring me 8mm from the front face. That goes in there. That goes in there. Now I've got some really positive fixing there. Okay. All right, make sure that that is there. Now, ordinarily, I might drop some glue on this, but because the time is against us, I'm going to leave the glue for a moment and drop in the screws. Now, these are the screws. All right. I'm using coarse thread. Generally, I'd use the coarse thread ones for most materials. Only really dense hardwoods that I would consider using the fine thread ones. So we make sure that our screw is snapped into the hole. We're going to use a little driver. Now, generally, these ones are Torx, T20 Torx. And if you buy this, it comes with the right drill bit, the right Torx bit. But please ensure that you use the Torx settings on your drill, because you don't want to have it on drill setting and blast the screw all the way through and potentially split the material. So having it on a medium to light Torx setting, I don't know, between 5 and 10. I'm making sure that this corner, which is the top, is flush faced in this area. I'm just doing that by eye for now. All right. So let's screw that into position, and I'm nice, slow and steady. You can hear that Torx setting kick in straight away. That click is what you want to hear. At no point would I use an impact driver either. Too aggressive. All right. There we've got that first kind of look component there. All right. Now we need to do same thing other end. Okay. So that needs to come in there like that, doesn't it? Like that. That comes in there like that. I'm flushing off. We've already got the little packer in there, so we know it's set in the right position. That needs to be flush faced with the top. I'll drop in the screws. One. I'll put the other one in while I'm there. There are specific screws to specific material thickness as well, so make sure you're picking the right ones. And the packaging that comes with the screws gives you a really good guide to what screws to use for what thickness. But we're there now. All right. This is set back just off the front face. The routed edge is just blending into the front face nicely. It's flat and level, clean and square. There's not a lot more to do. And as said, I would have probably glued this if I had just a little more time for you lovely people. Now, that's my the underside of my board. So that now comes into there. All right. You can see that. Fixing holes there, fixing holes there, fixing holes there. This is just where I'll centralize it. So I'll get my rule, make sure it's looking exactly where I want it. Okay. 6mm off of this edge, remember? Check the other side. Oops, knocked it. Start again. There we go. Gently, gently. There we go. That looks nice and level. We're not overlapping the front. Make sure we got the same gappage front and back. 15. Push that a bit, Craig. 15. This is the final bit you're putting together, so it's worth just taking a bit of time, double checking, and there we are. Okay. Now it's really good to clamp this in position when you're fixing it. So we'll just drop one quick clamp on there, just while we get one fixing in. Nothing special about the clamps. Anything will do. Quick grip is good because generally they're a one-handed style clamp. All right, same screws. So these are the 30 or 32 mil, can't remember, coarse thread. Screw goes in. Make sure it's popped into the pocket. Torque set in. Well, we've done all that. That's one positively fixed. I'm going to do the other end, just making sure that nothing's shifted. Everything looks as and where it should be. Just clamp that up. It's definitely always worth just clamping the first couple of holes, because this is coming in at an angle. When you're driving it in, if you're a bit aggressive with your screwdriving, it can push the board off to one side. So that one, loads of control. There we have it. Just 2 to drop into this middle section, which will fix the front rail to the underside of the topper. 1 and 2. It's important you use the right length screws as per instructions, because you'll something like this, you could drive the screw all the way through the top of your material. There's one last little thing to do, because we've got this kicked over at an angle. We've got just this little bit to take care of here. So what I'm going to do is just take a plane to it, all right, and skim off very lightly. Little block plane might have been a bit better. It's such a small amount. Just peeling off a little bit, the little corner that sat above the base. Ooh, probably better clamped, Craig, but for speed. There we are. Flush for one more. Last little bit, peeling off nice and gently. There we are. Yes, Cole.
Lawrence was just asking, would you or could you router the holes where the dog folds?
Yeah, if you wanted to, yeah. You could tidy those up, make them a little bit cleaner. I don't really, you could route the entire hole out if you wanted to. Absolutely, yeah. There's a number of ways of doing it, but this was a quick way, if you like. You could clean all of this up, but there we go. Little pooch feeding station. All right, you can see that, all pocketed in. Smooth round over edges. Little name there. All right, I think he will be pleased. He'll be definitely waggy tail when I get home. And that's from Dexter, not my lady. Right, so, and there we go. So hopefully, guys, you found that useful. What's happening? Where are we next week? So we're Thursday, so the last Woodworking Wisdom live for this week. Next week on Tuesday, I think it's probably Colwyn in the workshop. And what are you doing, my friend?
Circles.
Oh, yes, you said yesterday. So, you know, Colwyn's coming out of the wood turning, going into one of the other workshops to create some really cool surfboards. Not full size, they might be just a little bit smaller. But join us for that. That's going to be super cool. As always, don't forget, if you've not subscribed, please subscribe for this continuing free content. And it's great to have your company. Enjoy your weekend. Take care. Bye-bye.